There is a moment every man remembers. Not the moment she left. The moment after. When he reached for his phone and typed the first word of a message he would regret. That single motion, small, silent, does more damage than any rejection ever could. Because rejection ends with her decision. Begging ends with the death of yours. Somewhere between the first date and the last argument, a certain kind of man forgets who he was before her. He forgets he had a will of his own. A spine of his own. A life that did not orbit a phone screen, waiting for 3 dots to appear. And in that forgetting, he loses something no apology can return to him. You have felt this. Maybe you are feeling it right now. In the dark. Phone resting face down beside you, like a loaded weapon you are trying not to reach for. That silence on the other end is not punishing you. It is testing you. And most men fail that test without ever realizing a test was being given. By the end of this, you will understand why the strongest men in history never chased what walked away. And why that one decision, repeated 1,000 times over a lifetime, is the difference between a man who is chosen and a man who chases. This is not a video about her. This is a video about you. If you already know that, if some part of you came here already sensing this truth, type "I am not asking" twice in the comments right now. Let that be the first thing you commit to before we go any further. Here is the truth most men will never hear spoken plainly. You were not rejected because you were not enough. You were rejected because you made yourself too available. Too soon. Too completely. And in doing so, you handed her the one thing that should never be given away before it is earned. Your power. Every time you beg for a text back, for a second chance, for an explanation you don't need, you are not pleading for love. You are pleading for permission to feel whole again. And that is the trap. You were whole before she arrived. Somewhere in the middle, you convinced yourself her presence was the source of your peace, rather than a companion to it. So when she withdrew, it did not feel like losing a person. It felt like losing yourself. This is the wound underneath the wound. Not heartbreak. Self-abandonment. Most men never make this distinction. They mourn the woman for months, sometimes years, when what they should be mourning is the version of themselves they surrendered along the way. Quietly. Piece by piece. In every text sent too fast. In every boundary dissolved too easily. Marcus Aurelius did not write in his private notebook so strangers 2,000 years later could quote him on canvas prints. He wrote to remind himself every single morning that his worth did not live in the hands of other men. Or other women. He wrote because even an emperor understood this: the mind left unguarded will beg for approval like a slave begs for bread. If an emperor had to fight this battle daily, so do you. Hear this now, because it will save you more pain than anything else in this video. The ache you feel is not proof she was right for you. It is proof you built too much of your identity on ground that was never yours to build on. By the time this ends, you will carry a law inside you that cannot be argued with, cannot be manipulated, cannot be taken from you by anyone who decides to walk away. It is the law of the ungiven power. What you do not need, you cannot be controlled by. Most men spend their whole lives negotiating for love like beggars at a gate when they were born to walk through the front door as men who require no one's permission to exist. 9 lessons. Each one a blade. Use them on the part of you that still wants to reach for the phone. Lesson 1. Attraction is not built on comfort. It is built on tension. The quiet, electric distance between two people who both have somewhere else they could be. The moment you beg, that distance collapses. There is no mystery left in a man who has shown her, in full, exactly how much he cannot live without her. There is no gravity in a man who has become the moon instead of the sun, reflecting her light, instead of generating his own. You have seen it. A man pleading his case at 1 in the morning. Message after message. Explaining. Justifying. Negotiating for a feeling that was never his to negotiate. Did that look like strength to you? Or did it look like a man standing outside a door that had already closed, knocking louder, because he could not accept the silence on the other side? She feels that energy before she reads a single word. Desperation has a frequency. It broadcasts itself in the timing of your replies, in the length of your paragraphs, in the apology you offer for a feeling you never needed to explain. Epictetus divided the world into 2 piles. What is within your control? And what is not? Her feelings belong in the second pile. The moment you beg, you are trying to control the uncontrollable. And every attempt to do so broadcasts weakness, because only a man who believes he has no power left resorts to pleading for it. Here is what begging actually says, underneath the words. It says, I have already decided my life is worse without you. And I need you to rescue me from that conclusion. No one is drawn to a man asking to be rescued. You do not attract by proving your need. You attract by proving your completeness. Not because coldness is strength. Because wholeness is magnetic. And need is not. A man who begs is not showing her his love. He is showing her his void. And no woman, however much she once desired him, is drawn to stand at the edge of a hole and be asked to fill it. Remember this the next time your thumb hovers over the screen. Lesson 2. Neediness is not a character flaw. It is a symptom. It tells you, if you're willing to listen, that somewhere along the way, you outsourced your sense of worth to a source outside yourself. Jung called this the shadow. The parts of ourselves we refuse to look at directly, so they operate from behind the curtain of our behavior instead. A man never taught to sit with his own emptiness will spend his adult life recruiting other people to sit there for him. Her attention becomes a painkiller. Her validation becomes a substitute for a self-respect he never built on his own. This is why losing her feels like losing oxygen. It is not that she was oxygen. It is that you never built lungs of your own. Picture 2 men. The first has a mission that consumes his mornings. A discipline that shapes his body. A solitude that sharpens his mind. When she is present, his life is richer. When she is absent, his life is still full, quieter, perhaps, but never empty. The second man has built his entire identity around being chosen. His mornings depend on whether she texted first. His mood is a mirror of her mood. His sense of being a man rises and falls with her approval, like a flag raised and lowered by someone else's hand. Only one of these men can walk away with his head high. Neediness weakens you because it transfers ownership of your emotional state to a person who never signed a contract to manage it. And no one, no matter how much they love you, can carry that weight forever without eventually resenting it. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The needy man does not suffer because she left. He suffers because his imagination already rehearsed 100 abandonments before she ever gave him a reason to fear one. You were not born needy. You were trained into it. By a culture that told you love means merging completely. That devotion means disappearing into someone else's life until nothing of you remains outside of them. That is not love. That is erasure with a soundtrack. The strong man loves fully without dissolving. He gives his presence, not his identity. And when you understand the difference, something happens that no woman can undo. You become impossible to lose. Because you were never something she could hold captive in the first place. If you're building that kind of self right now, a self that does not dissolve the comment, I built lungs of my own below. Say it like you mean it. Because in a few minutes, you're going to need to remember you said it. Lesson 3. Attachment is a fog machine for the mind. You've seen it.
A man normally sharp, decisive, respected in every room he enters, reduced to checking his phone every 4 minutes.
Rereading a message 12 times. Searching for meaning in a single lowercase letter. This is not the same man.
This is a man whose judgment has been hijacked by an emotional need so loud it drowns out logic entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the difference between the event and our judgment of the event.
Her leaving is an event. Neutral.
The universe assigns it no meaning. The meaning, catastrophe, humiliation, the end of your worth as a man that is added by you.
The same way a man adds salt to water, and then complains that it is undrinkable. Attachment adds the salt.
It tells you her leaving proves you are unlovable, when in truth it proves nothing except that two people wanted different things. It tells you if you say the right words, perform the right apology, orchestrate the right grand gesture, you can reverse a decision that was never yours to make in the first place.
This is the cruelest trick attachment plays.
It convinces you control is still available, long after it has left the table. A drowning man does not drown quietly.
He thrashes. He grabs at anything within reach. He pulls down whoever tries to save him.
Attachment makes a man thrash, flooding her phone, showing up uninvited, rehearsing arguments no one asked him to prepare.
None of it is strategy. All of it is fog.
Notice how attachment distorts memory itself. The mind under its influence edits the relationship into a highlight reel, deleting the arguments, the silences, the moments you already knew this wasn't right.
That is not nostalgia.
That is your nervous system manufacturing a reason to keep reaching for what it has lost, because uncertainty is more unbearable to it than the truth. The Stoic does not eliminate feeling.
He eliminates the fog around it.
He feels the loss completely, without letting the loss drive the car.
You thought clarity would come from her explanation. Until life taught you clarity comes only from distance.
The moment you stop asking her to make sense of it and start asking yourself what her leaving reveals about the life you built around her, the fog begins to lift.
Lesson 4.
There is a specific pain that comes from staying somewhere you are no longer wanted, disguised as loyalty.
Men call it patience. Men call it fighting for her. Men call it not giving up. Sometimes it is none of those things.
Sometimes it is simply fear, dressed in noble language, so it does not have to look at itself in the mirror. Epictetus taught that freedom is not the absence of obstacles, but the refusal to be owned by your reaction to them.
A man who cannot walk away from a woman who no longer wants him is not free.
He is owned by the fantasy of a version of her that no longer exists. By the sunk cost of years he is terrified to admit were spent chasing someone who had already left long before she said the words.
Walking away is not cruelty.
It is not indifference. It is the final act of self-respect available to a man who has exhausted every honest attempt to be met halfway.
Here is what almost no one tells you. Walking away does not require her permission.
It does not require closure.
An explanation. A mutual agreement about who was right. It requires only your own decision that you will no longer participate in your own diminishment.
Picture a man standing at a door that keeps closing and reopening.
Closing and reopening. At someone else's convenience. Every time it reopens, hope floods back in. Every time it closes, another piece of his dignity is left on the floor.
At some point, the wisest act is not to wait for the door to make up its mind.
It is to turn around and build a house of your own. Walking away is rarely one dramatic moment.
More often it is 100 small refusals.
The call you do not return.
The apology you do not chase.
The explanation you decide you no longer need. Each refusal is small.
Together, they are the architecture of a man reclaiming his own life.
Seneca said most men do not decide to live.
They merely happen to still be alive, drifting on currents they never chose. The man who begs is drifting, waiting for her tide to bring him back to shore. The man who walks away has stopped drifting. He has picked up the oars. You lose the fantasy of what could have been. Then you realize the fantasy was costing you the reality of what could still be, with someone, or with no one at all, but always with yourself intact. Then you become a man who is no longer available to be diminished. Lesson 5. Imagine, for a moment, that the most powerful man in the ancient world, commander of legions, ruler of an empire that stretched across 3 continents, is told that someone close to him no longer wishes to remain in his life. What does he do? He does not send a writer through the night with a desperate letter. He does not summon her to explain herself before his court. He writes, instead, in the privacy of his own tent, a single instruction to himself. That it is not the departure of a person that disturbs a man, but the story he tells himself about what that departure means. Marcus Aurelius understood something modern men, flooded with dopamine and comparison, have almost entirely forgotten. No relationship, no title, no possession was ever truly his to keep. Everything external is on loan, from a universe that owes no man an explanation for when the loan is called in. This is not cold detachment. Read his private words closely, and you find a man who loved deeply his family, his duty, his people. But his love was never a leash he expected the world to hold still and obey. When someone chose to leave his life, his practice was not to chase the departure. It was to examine himself in its wake. What did I learn? What did I give too freely? What did I mistake for permanence, that was only ever a season? Picture him at the edge of a battlefield. At the end of a long day of decisions that shaped the fate of nations. Still finding the discipline to sit with a blank page and ask himself these questions honestly. If a man with an empire's weight on his shoulders could find time for that, your excuse, too busy, too hurt, too consumed, does not hold. Not stoic in the modern, hollow sense. Pretending you feel nothing. Burying grief under a performance of strength. Stoic in the original sense. Feeling everything. And still choosing your response deliberately, rather than letting the emotion choose it for you. The emperor did not beg, because begging assumes the other person owes you a change of heart. And nobody owes you that. Not because you are unworthy of love. But because love, real love, is freely given, or it is not love at all. You thought his strength came from feeling nothing. Until you understood it came from refusing to let his feelings write his next move. If you are ready to write your own next move instead of letting the ache write it for you, comment, I choose my response right now. Not for me. For the version of you standing at the edge of that same battlefield. Lesson 6. There is a kind of man who has never learned to sit inside a silence without needing to fill it. Every uncomfortable pause becomes a wound he must dress immediately, with a joke, an apology, a message he will regret sending before it even finishes loading. But silence, held deliberately, is one of the most powerful instruments a man can wield. Not the silence of avoidance. The silence of composure. When you do not respond to provocation, you communicate something no words ever could. That your peace does not depend on winning an argument. Correcting a narrative. Proving a point to someone who has already decided not to listen. Epictetus taught his students to keep silent for years before they were permitted to speak in his presence, because a mind that cannot hold its tongue has not yet learned to hold itself. Silence after a breakup is not weakness disguised as dignity. It is the loudest sentence you will ever deliver without opening your mouth. Every unsent message is a small victory over the part of you that still believes explaining yourself will change an outcome that was never about your explanation in the first place. One man fills every silence with proof of his devotion. Texts explaining what he meant. Calls at odd hours. A slow bleeding out of his own dignity, in real time, visible to anyone watching. The other disappears into his own life.
Not out of spite. Out of restraint. He lets the silence do what noise never could.
It makes her wonder, instead of making her certain.
Certainty kills desire. Silence protects mystery.
But more than what it does to her, notice what silence does to you.
It forces you back into your own company.
It strips away the distraction of negotiation, and leaves you alone with the only relationship truly guaranteed to last a lifetime.
The one with yourself.
There is a particular discomfort that arrives in the first few days of chosen silence.
A restlessness in the hands. An itch behind the eyes.
A mind that keeps drafting messages it will never send.
That discomfort is not a sign you are doing it wrong. It is withdrawal. Plain and simple. The same as any dependency loosening its grip. It passes. What replaces it is a steadiness no explanation from her could ever have given you. Lesson 7. Desperation cannot survive in a life that is already full. This is the quiet secret behind every man who seems unbothered by rejection. Unshaken by someone walking away.
Unmoved by the games other men lose sleep over. It is not that he does not care. It is that his life has no room to collapse around the absence of one person, because his days are already occupied by something larger than her approval. Nietzsche wrote that a man who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow.
Purpose is not a distraction from pain.
It is the structure pain cannot knock over, because it was built on a foundation deeper than any single relationship could reach.
Ask yourself, honestly. Before she arrived, what was your mission? What discipline were you building? What version of yourself were you constructing, brick by brick, before you handed her the blueprint and asked her to finish it for you?
Most men, when they are honest, admit they paused their own becoming the moment a woman gave them attention.
They stopped training. Stopped building.
Stopped chasing the life they were assembling before her arrival, convincing themselves love was the finish line, rather than a companion along the way. This is why the loss feels like collapse. Not because she was your purpose.
Because you let her become a replacement for one. The correction is not bitterness toward her.
The correction is rebuilding a mission so consuming that her absence becomes a footnote in a much larger story, instead of the story itself.
Start small if you must. A body rebuilt in the gym before sunrise.
A skill sharpened in the hours you used to spend refreshing her social media.
A craft. A trade.
A discipline pursued not to prove anything to her, but because a man without a project is a man with too much room in his mind for obsession to move in and set up residence. A man immersed in something greater than his own comfort does not have the bandwidth to beg. Begging requires idle hands and an idle mind, both fixated on a single outcome.
Purpose occupies the hands. Disciplines the mind. Until desperation simply has nowhere left to live. You lose the woman.
Then you realize what you actually lost was the version of yourself who had stopped building anything of his own. Then you become a man whose mission is loud enough that no absence can outshout it.
Lesson 8. There is a profound difference between a man people want in the room, and a man people request into the room. The requested man is summoned. He waits by the phone for an invitation.
His worth is decided by whether someone else has thought to include him. The valued man does not wait for permission to exist fully. His presence changes the temperature of a room simply by entering it, not through arrogance, not through performance, but through the quiet, undeniable weight of a man who is whole with or without an audience.
Scarcity is not a manipulation tactic.
It is the natural consequence of a life spent building instead of begging.
What is rare was never manufactured to be rare.
It is rare because so few men are willing to do the internal work required to become it.
Think about what makes gold valuable. Not a marketing campaign. Its rarity, forged under pressure most materials never survive. You are being forged right now. By every silence you hold. Every message you don't send. Every night you choose discipline over desperation. This pressure is not your enemy. It is the exact process by which ordinary men become rare ones. The valued man has boundaries that are not threats, simply the terms under which he shares his time, his attention, his affection. He does not announce these boundaries with anger. He does not need to. They are visible in how calmly he enforces them. Without apology. Without negotiation. He has self-control, not as suppression, but as the mature expression of a man who has decided his impulses do not get to run his life. This does not mean performing indifference while secretly checking her every move. The valued man's calm is not a costume he puts on for an audience. It is real because it is built on a life that would remain solid whether she noticed it or not. Anything less than that is simply neediness wearing a better outfit. Jung believed we spend the first half of life building a mask to survive the world, and the second half learning to remove it. The requested man wears the mask constantly, terrified of what happens if he is truly seen. The valued man has done the harder work. He has faced what is underneath, integrated it, and no longer fears its exposure. This is the man women do not walk away from casually. Not because he is unbreakable. Because he has already broken, rebuilt, and emerged with nothing left to prove. If you feel yourself becoming that man right now, even a little, even for the first time, comment "I am becoming rare" below. Let it be a marker. So 1 year from now, you can come back to this exact moment and see how far you've come. Lesson 9. The final law. Emotional sovereignty is not the absence of love. It is love without collateral. It means you can care for someone completely. Desire someone deeply. Even grieve someone honestly, without ever surrendering the throne of your own emotional state to their choices. This is the final law beneath everything you have heard tonight. What you do not need, you cannot be controlled by. Not because you have stopped caring. Because you have stopped outsourcing the terms of your peace to a person who never agreed to hold them. A sovereign man does not become cold. Coldness is armor built by men who were never taught to process pain honestly. Sovereignty is different. It is warmth with boundaries. Affection without dependency. Love that adds to an already full life, instead of patching the holes in an empty one. Seneca told his friend Marcus Aurelius that a man who has learned to die well has also learned to live well, because both require the same discipline. The release of what was never truly his to hold on to forever. Every relationship. Every job title. Every year of youth. Every version of the future you imagined with someone who has since walked away. All of it was on loan. The sovereign man does not resent the loan being called in. He is simply grateful he had the courage to build a self that did not collapse when it was. This sovereignty will be tested more than once in your life. It is not a state you arrive at and keep forever, like a trophy on a shelf. It is a discipline you return to again and again every time attachment tries to convince you this time is different. That this person is the exception. That begging just once more will finally work, or it never has before. It will not. The law does not bend for exceptions. It only reveals, over and over, who is willing to practice it. You began this by watching a man reach for his phone, ready to type the first word of a message he would regret. You end it as the man who no longer needs to send it. Not because you have stopped feeling, but because you have finally understood what that feeling was trying to teach you. That your worth was never hers to assign. It was never anyone's to assign but your own. There will come a night, sooner than you think, when your phone lights up with her name or goes dark with her silence. And in that single moment, you will be handed a choice you have faced 1,000 times before without recognizing it. Chase and confirm to yourself that your peace was never truly yours.
Or stand still and prove, to no one but yourself, that it always was.
This is not about becoming a man who no longer feels. It is about becoming a man whose feelings no longer own the wheel.
Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, and still had to fight this battle in the quiet of his own tent.
Alone.
With nothing but a notebook, and the discipline to write the truth down instead of the comfortable lie.
If he had to fight it daily, so will you. But every time you choose silence over begging, purpose over desperation, self-respect over the fantasy of a closed door reopening, you are not losing her. You are recovering yourself. And a man who has recovered himself does not need to be chosen to know he is worthy of being wanted. Somewhere out there is a version of you who never learns this. Who spends a lifetime chasing doors that keep closing. Mistaking exhaustion for devotion. Mistaking anxiety for love. You are not required to become that man.
Everything you just heard is the exit from that path laid out plainly, waiting only for you to walk it. Tonight, before you close this video, choose one person you have been begging.
With your attention. Your apologies. Your silence broken too soon. And give them nothing. Not out of cruelty. Out of respect for the man you are rebuilding. Let your discipline speak where your desperation used to. Feel the discomfort of it. Let it sit there, unresolved, without reaching for the phone to smooth it over. That discomfort is not your enemy. It is the exact spot where the old version of you dies, and the sovereign one begins. If you're taking that challenge tonight, if you're done reaching for the phone, comment "I choose myself" below. Let it be the last thing you type tonight, instead of the message you almost sent to her. And if this reached the part of you that needed it, subscribe to my Stoic code. Because the next law you learn might be the one that finally sets you free.